keeping you close to the heart of your community. This is Morning Call with Catherine Fogarty on Tipp Mid West Radio.
And welcome back, listeners. We're speaking now with Aiden Harper. Aiden is the president of Motorsport Ireland. Good morning, Aiden, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Catherine. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. Now, we had covered earlier this year news that the World Rally Championship would have rounds in Waterford, Kerry and Limerick over 2025 to 2027. This had led to great expectations, exciting events, a huge economic benefit. But now it seems this whole plan is undone. How do you feel about this situation that we find ourselves in? On Monday, you got news that the government are not in a position to give you an answer on funding.
Yes, Catherine, I suppose disappointment would be an understatement of where we currently sit. We have been engaged with Minister Byrne and his department since last June 2023 on this process. In early October, we submitted a document to the major bids unit within the government, which contained all the business details in relation to the proposal to bring the World Championship here to Ireland. Unfortunately, after that, there was zero communications until a letter we received on Monday, 2 hours before the deadline of cut-off, telling us that the government were not in a position to fund it at present, that they wanted to go further and carry out an independent economic analysis and business case. And they needed a further 6 months to do so, which was really disappointing since we had no communication for 200 days since October, since we submitted our proposal.
I'm tempted to ask here, should you have been following up on that in those 200 days?
Catherine, we have been following up nearly on a weekly basis. We have been in contact with the major sports events unit. We have emailed the Minister's office directly looking for direct meetings, any further information that the major bid events team required. We got a correspondence back saying they had all the information they needed. I could read you out lists of dates here of emails with no replies to the Minister's office. So
the department had it for 6 months to give you an answer, but they knew the end of March was the deadline, and the promoter did give you a 2-week extension. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, the department says, sorry, we need another 6 months.
That's right. And they only gave us two hours notice of that. Yeah. Why could we not have all this work done in the last 6 months? We had the promoter willing to come in and provide whatever information is needed. We had incredible work by the 3 areas that were selected: Waterford, Tralee and Limerick. Incredible buy-in by chambers of commerce, county councils, local authorities, etc., etc. We were expecting a lot of questions out of this. Of course, government funding doesn't come easy, but the fact that there was zero communication, we did keep knocking on the door, and we're getting a closed door at all times. So we are utterly disappointed. I am utterly disappointed for the 3 regions. The whole southeast area there, the Tipperary, especially where stages would have run, Frank Maher country, all of the traditional rallying down there. Yep. Our sport is built on volunteers.
Yep. I think the expectation for 3 rounds of the World Championship was just, people were just couldn't wait for those type of events to be delivered, and that's from the point of view of maybe being the spectator or seeing that being involved in delivering it. But you thought this would deliver in region of 100+ million each year, 300 million of economic benefit to Ireland.
That's right. Case studies have proven this in other countries. We mirrored our business case very close on countries that are the same size of ourselves. So again, all of that was provided in the bidding document into the government. But again, radio silence for 200 days was just incredible. Then just to receive a letter to say, we need a further 6 months. Unfortunately, the promoter can't give us that time. So we have now lost this event for 25 to another country whose government is prepared to put the funding in to bring this incredible spectacle to the area. I mean, we're talking about showcasing the Ancient East, the Skellig Way, the Wild Atlantic Way, incredible tourism numbers, backdrops, etc. And then to be told with 2 hours notice to a deadline that this was not going to happen, it's heartbreaking.
Aiden, can you give any indication of the scale of support you needed from the government?
So our overall request was 15 million over 3 years. That's 5 million per year.
Wow.
The payback on that is 100 million per year. And that would have 100 million for each of the regions. So the business case really stood up for itself. I know the Minister communicated to us in relation to various things about tourism and Gardaí, resources, etc. But we had all this built into our plan. We're not a small organisation. We're a huge organisation with huge resources. who are all voluntary, have worked incredibly hard to bring this event to Ireland. We are really saddened by the letter that we got on Monday afternoon. And look, to be very honest, as I said earlier, money is hard got. We know that and we understand that. But for God's sake, communicate with us before 2 hours to a deadline.
But also the scale there of an investment of 15 million, and then you have a 300 million return over that 3-year period across the entire Munster region. Is something like this also now damaging for the reputation of Ireland? Well,
we have been watched very carefully by the world stage. We have incredible supporters all around the world, countries who are affiliated with. I mean, we look at some great names that have come from Ireland. Unfortunately, we lost Craig Green last year, whose anniversary has just occurred at this time. We have incredible names like Frank Matter, etc., etc. We're on the world stage. We are producing world junior champions in William Creighton and other people in various disciplines. So the world is watching Ireland, and we're very supportive of our bid. And now we're after taking this knockback. And again, we can manage knockback, but 2 hours before the deadline to be told that they need another 6 months. It's completely unacceptable from people who have been put into these positions by the people of Ireland.
Yes, and you've said disappointment, but I would think there's a degree of anger surely as well, and frustration.
Absolutely, Catherine. You can see the Twitter feeds, you can see the Facebook comments today. People are sorely disappointed. It's a small ask for a major gain. For a sport that is incredibly supported and brings incredible economical benefits to local communities when rally events or various types of motorsport events come to the areas.
Yeah. For now, have you decided on any course of action arising from the government response? The event is definitely lost for next year?
The event is 100% gone for 2025, and that's purely down to the lack of communication from the government. I've sought a meeting with the Minister, but again, I have sought numerous meetings with the Minister for which we've had no reply. And this morning I will be seeking a meeting with the Taoiseach directly, because we have to find out what's happening internally in these departments and why volunteers and people are not being communicated back to. Simple communication is what people deserve in life, not down to the last minute pin pull.
Yes, and in January, when the announcement of the 3 regions that each one would Porter Championship Rally run, there was great excitement about that, because it was that idea was being appreciated, that it was going to be, the benefit would be spread all across Munster.
100%. Firstly, we had looked at having it in one location, but the proposals that were brought in for the 3 regions were incredible. We met incredible people with incredible enthusiasm. Our clubs, our voluntary-based clubs, but the local politicians, the civic authorities, the police, the Gardaí that turned out to these meetings. We had 20 to 30 people, very high-ranking individuals in rooms across the 3 regions who were 100% supportive of this. And now, unfortunately, to be knocked back, it's just heartbreaking.
And it's just incredible, the scale of a €15 million investment, and then it had the prestige, the glamour, the investment, the support, and you had it for 3 years as well, meaning that sort of some of the infrastructure that you might put in place in terms of personnel or systems would have been able to use across the 3 years. Is it long since Ireland hosted any rounds of the championship?
We last hosted in 2007 and 2009.
Yeah.
And we learned a lot from that. And we visited other major events across the world. We have the infrastructure, we have the people, we have the volunteers. All we needed was the funding to support this. But we were guaranteed this for 3 years, 25, 26, 27, with a possibility then rolling that on for another 3, 6 or 9 years, same as Finland or Sweden would do. So this opportunity, unfortunately, has been flushed now due to a department's failure to communicate with a national governing body.
It sounds hugely frustrating, and I can understand the opportunity that really has been lost here.
Absolutely, Catherine. And again, I have to go back to the fact we sought numerous meetings to assist, clarify, give further information, bring the promoter in, show the incredible business cases around the world, to which we had no replies to.
Yes, and you mentioned in your press release that Minister Thomas Byrne was delighted to meet you last summer, saying, great, you're starting this in plenty of time. You had your paperwork in by October, and then 6 months of silence. It's just shocking, really.
It is indeed. We walked into the Minister's office. We were met with open arms. He was astonished that we were coming looking for something for 2025. As he said himself, people are knocking on his door for something for the following week or the week after. So we were well advanced. We left that off. Myself, 2 past presidents and other members of the committee, very positive. And then we engaged with the major bids events team, which we submitted all was required, and then we went to radio silence.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. And we saw somewhat similar in terms of bringing the yacht race to Cork, whether or not people could justify the economic return there. But in your case here, those numbers are astounding, asking for 15 million and promising, looking at 100 million return each year for 3 years, a total of 300 million. Certainly seems to be a major opportunity. So the situation now is that you're waiting, hoping to have a meeting with the Taoiseach to find out what went wrong here in terms of the communication process.
I think we have to find out, Catherine, what happened. I need to find out. I need to go back to clubs and volunteers and give them a very honest and open account of why we went 200 days with zero communication back from the department.
Yeah.
If the department had asked for further clarification or wanting to launch further discovery or whatever on bid, that could have been done in the last 6 months. Yeah. And we could have managed expectations. But the failure to communicate, again, I have to call out, is absolutely appalling.
Well, it certainly seems just such a case, as you said, your full documentation in last October and then 6 months for that. And Minister Byrne's feedback to you is that he needs a further 6 months to analyse what you're proposing to him, what you're requesting him. It just seems extraordinary in the context of some of the decisions that governments have made down through the years that they would need a year to consider this.
Absolutely. And when you think of what our volunteer clubs do weekend in, weekend out, where we're putting on events, some clubs nearly as big as this, that's run by volunteers who can deliver, prepare and execute events of the size. And then you have a department who needs another 6 months. I have to call all of that into question.
Yes, it seems extraordinary. Well, I do hope you get some answers, and perhaps once you have that meeting, we'll get some answers as to why it took the department 6 months looking at it, giving an answer saying we need another 6 months to consider this idea. It's just not in any way innovative enough or agile enough for the real world.
Absolutely. It doesn't stack up.
No.
And we need honest answers. Was this put on a shelf? Why were we not communicated to? We understand the various exercises that have to happen, but don't leave it to 2 hours before the deadline.
Yeah. It's incredible, really. Aiden, I really appreciate your time today. I know you've got another interview to do because it's a day for you to try to, as you say, explain this to the public and to your members across the country. Hopefully, 2026 might be a viable next start date for a 3-year cycle.
Absolutely. And look, we will work with the department, but we want to work in a very transparent, open and honest way. And we need engagement has to be equal on both sides. I would certainly love to bring this for 26, 27, 28. But again, we're going to have to wait to see what happens.
Okay. Aiden, thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And that was Aiden Harper. He's the president of Motorsport Ireland. Just they revealed yesterday that the government will not be able to give them an answer on if they could give them 15 million euros to support 3 rounds of the World Rally Championship in Ireland. They looked for bids from across Ireland, and then what they announced in January was they were going to give 1 round to Waterford area, 1 to the Limerick area and 1 to the Kerry area, broadly speaking, for 25, 26 and 2027. But now that opportunity has been lost, and remains to be seen whether Ireland could get back on track for 2026 as the start of a cycle.